Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News, and this video is about body diversity or the lack thereof in Bachelor Nation. In 20 years, 44 seasons, 1,100 contestants, there have only been 2 plus-size people cast by the Bachelor franchise, and they went home night 1. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content. Why The Bachelor? Roses for Every Body is a new Instagram account with a petition to get some diversity on the show with regards to body types and sizes. The Bachelor is one of the longest running and most popular reality TV dating shows. It's become a fixture of American television and culture. The impact on our culture can be uplifting and positive and can perpetuate harm while reinforcing the status quo. Reality TV is accessible and has huge diversity in its audience. Despite often being considered frivolous entertainment, this accessibility gives shows like The Bachelor a large reach. The Bachelor franchise should be aware of their impact and use their platform responsibly. We're not asking for perfection, we're asking for progress. And I have to say, 2 contestants in the last several decades, not a good look. So they say, why now? Why not now? It's been 20 years. The Bachelor has had plenty of opportunities to diversify their cast. They've been waiting for a push. Meet your push. Now, you can go to Roses for Everybody on Instagram. Give them a follow. They've also got a link tree, how to sign the petition, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all that jazz. And their petition at 3483 signed. Let's refresh. They are now at 3,573 signed. Do yourself a favor, sign the petition if you think that roses are for everybody. Now, to discuss this further, I've got a good friend of the show. We love her, Jenna from Date Card Pod. Hello, Jenna. How are you?
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Isn't this exciting? We're in the finally in the flesh here.
I know, it's been a long time coming. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm, just fucking Bachelor Nation, it's a fucking mess. It is a shit show. But I will say one of the best parts of running a podcast and a meme page about this is meeting people like you and other members of the commentary, community. It's
Absolutely.
the fucking best part.
Yeah, we're the people that couldn't get paid on the show, so we're just we can speak out. We're not bought and sold like grocery store Joe. We can actually share some opinions.
Just who you being,
Yeah, that's right. And I think overall the independent commentators outnumber in views all of the the kind of the store-bought commentators. I think we each have small niche audiences, but we're far extending to different corners of Bachelor Nation.
100%.
Okay, so for our audience, they're going to notice that we filmed this beforehand because it's a few days before the release of the new season. But you've always been great at what I appreciate about you is looking at the different injustices that exist within our culture in general and how it applies to the show. I absolutely love that. The show is not just a TV show. It is a platform for all of us to talk about issues that we're sort of hopefully progressing in the right direction, right?
Yeah. The show absolutely does not take place in a vacuum. It is reality television. It is a ugly, messy kissing show. It is all those things, but it also does not take place in a vacuum. It is one of the most popular, it's the longest reality dating show that's been on the air. And it is a cultural, cornerstone of our culture, fully. Whether you like it or you don't, it has its little fingers in all of our aspects of our culture. And yeah, so the problematic aspects that happen within the show, and the fandom, within the, alum, all of that matters, I'd like to think, to an extent.
Yeah, and I think what it comes down to, and this is hard for someone like me to understand, I'm about as privileged as they come, rightfully here, right? I mean, look, if I watch a show where 20 people are competing for love, I don't necessarily off the bat go, hey, but what about, I'm just watching people that look like me. If there's someone else that, isn't represented, that's an issue that they might notice before I do. So I think the bigger demographic has been covered, which is probably heterosexual white people. And then there's others that go, hey, well, what about people that look like me? Where are they on the show?
Exactly. Yeah. And representation matters in that sense. Representation on television is speaking messages out to people, and it's either messages of positivity or messages of negativity and exclusion. So it all matters. And I love watching the show as well and just getting into the drama and enjoying it for what it is. But at the same time, I have fostered and believe that there's just such a beauty in the community of people like talking about the nuance of the things that happen on the show and how it does affect people. I mean, if I could be honest and say that, like, every time we have a big arc towards the end of the season where one of the people does something really horrible, like usually a man, the Bachelorette, triggering to the lead, right? I get hundreds of DMs from people being like, I saw myself in that moment. That has happened to me. I relate to that. I am affected by seeing that on my TV. So, like, as someone who does this commentary and is in the community, it matters. Like, what the show does and what it shows matters.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of, you know, like I said before, Bachelor Nation, it's a subset of what's going on in our culture. And a lot of people, when you criticize, you know, say the United States, well, why don't you move? It's like, no, I'm criticizing it because I love it and I want it to be better. And I think the show could be better. You look at certain shows like Love on the Spectrum and other niche down shows that exist maybe more on cable or streaming, they're able to go in directions that are more specific and inclusive, whereas you've got The Bachelor's idea is kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that might be a network TV sort of holding on to the old ways type of thing. But tell us about your sort of what you would like to see changed on the show.
Well, I mean, I would like to see a lot of things change on the show, of course. I would like proper trigger warnings for one example. I'd love to see a fucking bi lead. But one of the things that I have never seen in the like 13 years that I've been watching and all these different things is body diversity. Let's just talk about it. Body diversity on the show has been non-existent. So,
I know. We get like maybe a chubby guy, maybe like a former, like Brian Witzman over there, former football player, and then that's it. That's really it. There's nothing but like 8-packs and chiseled, sculpted bodies.
So myself with a group of other passionate Bachelor fans, we decided to just kind of like do something about that, because it's been here forever. Like, in the researching for this campaign that I'll talk about in a second, I've seen handful of articles that talk about the show's lack of body diversity, and then at the end of the article it just goes, man, that sucks. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
And I got sick of having that conversation on my platform as well. Do you think the show will ever have a fat lead? And I would always say, no, I don't think the show's ready. And then I got tired of having that conversation, you know? So I'm just going to do something about it. So me and this group of individuals, we've been working really hard on the off season, and we're getting ready to launch a campaign that we have called Roses for Everybody. And it launches on July 11th, which is also the premiere date of The Bachelorette, because we are that petty. Yeah, we are basically launching this multifaceted campaign that's going to be a social media campaign and a petition. We are greatly influenced by Bachelor Diversity campaign that came out in 2020 that helped usher the franchise into more racial diversity. And if people don't quite remember, up until Matt James' season, they had never had a Black male lead on the show. So Bachelor Diversity campaign did a lot of amazing work with call to actions and petitions and getting a lot of noise. So we are inspired by that. We have a couple members from that campaign on our campaign. And it's a pretty simple message. The message is we are demanding that the Bachelor franchise start including fat bodies in their casting of their hopeful singles. It's pretty simple, like, frankly. Fat people exist. Fat people are beautiful. Fat people deserve love. They deserve a chance to find love. They also deserve chances to be on television. They deserve social capital opportunities. We just, frankly, it's as simple as that. And fat people and those storylines also don't deserve to be like traumatic storylines on the show or jokes on the show.
Yeah. You see this a lot in Hollywood where the more character look would be the best friend or the bumbling, the Chris Farley type. Like there hasn't been kind of, not just because it used to be that The Bachelor would get away with just token sort of diversity. They would have somebody that wasn't going to be a contender on the show because they weren't casting people that really had a shot in that given circumstance. So I've thought about it. I go, how would they introduce a more diverse body diversity to the show. And I think they really have to find people that the audience will root for. And that, because as we know, you unlike Matt James, you don't normally get pipelined straight into the lead, but there needs to be enough people to choose from within the cast of like hopefuls that are fan favorites that then can, not Rodney's not an example of like body diversity, but he was a type of guy that wasn't going to win the show, but like he was such a fan favorite. I don't think many people would complain if he was the next lead. And I think if there are more diverse members of the crowd, and you go like, look, normally there's 20, 25 contestants. What do you mean? You can't find diversity within 20, 25? Make it 30, 35. Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, let's be honest. There is, when they cast a lead and then they search for people to put on the show, they don't like. It's hard to say. It's like they're actively excluding fat bodies. They just are, frankly. There have been leads who have said that they date diverse body types. Matt James was one of them. Mike James Johnson, yep, said he would as well. Of course, they didn't fucking choose him as a lead, and they should have. Katie Thurston has recently gone on the record on her Instagram stories saying that she wanted a diverse body, cast, and they didn't do that. So they're actively not doing that. And I definitely agree with you earlier too. Is like tokenization is not what we're after. We're after like equal representation, non-body identity focused representation. So there needs to be, in our opinion, more than just one fat person. The show cannot get away with just casting one fat person and be like, we've done it. That's just like tokenization. That's going to be isolating. That's going to single the person out. I know there's going to be a whole host of issues with that. So we have a whole set of petitions. We'll get demands, rather, that we're going to get into in a second. But yeah, I mean, we just have to look at the numbers too. The show has been on 20 years, 44 combined U.S. seasons. I did the math. There has been over 1,142 individuals cast on the show. Only 2 of them self-identified as smaller plus size, and they both went home night 1 without screen time.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's horrible.
And it's like, the show should just say what it is then. Is this a popularity contest, or is it a show for finding love? And now I want to give you that appropriate trigger warning you don't think that the show gives, and mention that Chris Harrison for 1 second here. So a lot of people wonder, I'm pulling up a graphic and I'll read it, what he thought. And of course he was the voice of Bachelor Nation. And when people were asked, I think this was in 2014, why there aren't any chubby or that was the term they used, chubby contestants. And he said, I don't think that would work because that's not attractive. And television is a very visual medium. And I know that sounds horrible to say, but I know that at 42, in the eyes of television, I'm old and unattractive. Sure, I can put a suit and tie on, but I have hair on my chest and I don't have a 12-pack. I live a healthy life, but I don't do 8 hours in the gym, nor do I want to, and I don't eat 50,000 egg whites. This is actually what he said. So he said, the question is it a good business decision? And then he kind of went on and compared it to pizza places making hamburgers. Why fix something if it's not broken? So that was his thought. And I guess, what would your response be to the idea that it's not marketable?
It is. Besides all the fat phobia and that sentiment, it is. Fat people, there's 42% of people in the U.S. who are considered fat. It is marketable. They are losing out on a huge demographic of people who are not watching because they don't see themselves in the television show. Also, like, fuck the idea of just like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That is so like staying in line with like the white supremacist patriarchal concepts of just like defined beauty standards that aren't the reality.
Right, and we know that it shifts throughout time as people get more representation. If there's a celebrity that's curvier, then people feel okay being curvier. Or it really comes down to, if you see things on your TV screen that you will feel more comfortable because you're looking at someone who represents you. And I think the audience now. Let me ask you this. This might not might not correlate, but I know you and a lot of others have talked about like purity culture and this idea that the show sort of exists to benefit the kind of Christian South. Do you wonder? The show's afraid to have a Jewish lead, mention that they're Jewish, and all these other things. They're so afraid to offend this target audience that they have, the evangelicals. That do you think that they'll be an audience that would turn away from seeing diversity?
Perhaps, but the show is also already losing viewers by the millions. Every season it continues to stay in the antiquated standards that it upholds. Other shows and other networks are going and going and going higher, and they're including more diversity and more inclusion. So to continue to stay where they're at is a mistake, in my opinion. And if it does lose some of their, fat phobic base, then I think that's fine by me.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, that's the same excuse they use with not putting a black male lead.
No, of course.
He literally had a similar interview where he was like, got to keep the lights on. That's just frankly, so unacceptable. It's also just very, it's so, it's dehumanizing, it's violent, it's, exclusionary, but it also is dumb and stupid. And they're not right. They're not right. There are plenty of people who would, in that hyper Christian middle America, fan base, that are fat.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So they're just actively excluding people for their own biases.
It's very Mad Men era way of thinking that we just have to have a sexy twig with a cigarette and that's the cool idea. I think it's like comics, entertainment rules all. If they can put together a great show, and entertainment doesn't have to mean toxic drama or, it can be a little bit of drama, but it can also be a gigantically amazing love story. If they can put together a love story, regardless of color of skin and all the things in size, all the things that we hope for, then that would be great. But they're not going to do it unless their hand is forced, which I think it's a great idea to have a petition. It's a great idea to always be kind of wanting better from the most popular dating show in the world.
Mm-hmm. I saw once a comment on a Twitter thread that said something about I don't necessarily want my specific marginalized community on the show because I'm just going to be a villain or it's just going to be messy. And my opinion on that is that I will think we have won this if there is a fat villain.
Yes.
I want a fat villain. That's success for me. So because the storyline isn't about their body. So for me, that's my goal. I want a bunch of fat people on the show of varying sizes, and I want them to have platforms, and I want them to have a chance to find love, and I fucking want a fat villain, because trust me, I'm fat, and I'm a bitch, so we can do this.
I love it. Fat villain. Go for it. Now, what's in the petition? What are we looking to do?
We have 5 just pretty straightforward standard asks of the show. We're demanding that Bachelor Nation, the franchise, its creator Mike Fleiss, NCK Productions, Warner Brothers, and ABC, they're all together in this scheme. So number 1, cast a minimum of 5 diverse fat bodies on the show each season, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Number 2, give equitable non-fat identity focused screen time to the fat contestants on the show. Number 3, choose leads who specify that they are happy and like to date diverse fat people. Number 4 is provide support to the fat contestants. This is including on-set mental health care and support, as well as inclusive sizing for costumes and clothing within group dates, and accommodations throughout the experience on the show. And then number 5 is to hire fat staff in production, and to incorporate fat inclusion training from fat liberationists. I think back to times where Rachel Lindsay and Tayshia have talked about how it was important for them to see Black producers on set to help them feel welcome and included and supported. that's what we're trying to get with number 5 as well.
I think that's great. And I think if someone had never seen the show or didn't know how Hollywood worked, they'd be like, geez, these are some wild demands. But you're talking about 1,000 cast members. You're talking about a proven decades-long track of not even attempting to include a large portion of our audience. So when you say equitable stage time or equitable screen time, I think that's great. Not making them on the show be for some sort of token reason, but just to share their stories. When they become fan favorites, a portion of every contestant's got a shot to win over the crowd. Then they get on Bachelor in Paradise. Then Bachelor in Paradise is more inclusive, and then the Beast feeds. The next we have a lead that so. I think that's great. How many? Would you have a goal for signatures, or we're just going for the moon?
We're going for the moon. we know we're kind of hitting we might hit a little bit of uphill battle with some of the fan base, but we're just gonna try to make a change and move the dial. We at our little campaign, Roses for Everybody, don't expect to solve fat phobia in the franchise in one go at it. We don't expect to solve it in the fan base at one go at it, but we do expect and demand, frankly, that we just fucking start somewhere.
I love it.
Time is up. It's been 20 years. Let's just do it.
All right. Yeah, Bachelor 2023. That'll be the next season. It hasn't been cast yet, but I guess we'll be watching. Anything else we can say before we let you go here regarding your petition? We'll put a link in the description.
Fabulous. Yeah, just make sure you're following us on all the social medias. We're at Roses for Everybody on Instagram and TikTok. On Twitter, we're at Roses, the number 4 Everybody, because somebody else already got it. Anyway, but yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you, Dave, for having me on and getting a chance to talk about this. We're really, really excited, and we really think that the fan base and the alum and everyone is ready for this. I think we're ready. So I'm just really excited.
Absolutely. And if people want a fresh, fun podcast, Date Card Pod at Date Card Pod. And also, you got my number. Join us on any live stream. You can Skype in if you want. And if you ever have anything you want to say or any reactions, come for the premiere or whenever. We'll get you on. We'd love to keep talking to you.
Yeah. I mean, if we get some good traction on this, I'd love to come back and discuss what's happening in the nation. So
absolutely. Again, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, let me know what you think. You can go to the petition right now. It's gaining a lot of steam. It's only been live for less than a day. And let's get that to 5,000 by the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think. Keep it kind in the comments section and share your thoughts and opinions. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.